I really like that part where it says truth survives because I want truth to survive. Hello, friends. This is Heidi Kuda and Jim Stewartson and High Fidelity with Radpod and Chill. We're not feeling so chill. We had technical difficulties, but we're here. The show must go on. Lots of stuff to talk about.
Blew up. He
Yeah,
got a new one
yeah.
now.
It's funny because hi-fi is lo-fi at times, but he made it happen though. He's been making it happen. Our bro Sean Connor's not here, but I've been having some lovely conversations. He and his family are doing well, for those of you who have asked, and he's represented every single time you see us because all that beautiful art and that beautiful music is from our friend Sean. I'm exhausted. I was up all night, as usual, writing an article about Trump being under criminal investigation, which I'm fully stoked about. And it may not come when you want it. It may not have come soon enough for us to know about it, but shit is popping. And I think we'll probably talk a little bit about that. I just hope everybody's doing well and staying sane during this a bit shit period.
Can I offer a bit of a Ric Flair commentary as to Trump being investigated by the Department of Justice? Woo! Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
look. As I did a hellscape on Hopium at one point.
Yeah.
And talk louder, Jim.
I can hear him. I can hear him. Yeah.
I did a hellscape on that was Hopium for what might be happening in the best case scenario, and what seems very clear to me is that they wanted to get the Trump part out of the proceedings done early and first, and I think that's important because Merrick Garland doesn't want to do anything that's going to affect the election, yada yada. And if Donald Trump announces that he's going to be running for president, Bob's your uncle, he can't do it. And then, everything goes to shit because he cares about norms. And he shouldn't fucking not care about norms, but whatever he does. So anyway, I think that the first half was intentionally extremely focused on Donald Trump, right? Every single episode of the 8-part, limited series was about Donald Trump. And it was worrying me at first until he immediately was under DOJ, publicly under DOJ investigation, immediately after they did a whole series on him. Yeah. So what that says to me is the January 6th committee and the Justice Department are at a minimum, talking over the table, if not, behind closed doors, about what their strategy is for rolling up these fuckers. They've now announced that they're interested in the cabinet. Mike Pompeo, John Radcliffe, like all these.
Hey,
Mulvaney, who's a dirty piece of shit. They need to get Mnuchin for all sorts of shit.
Oh, it was a rogues gallery completely.
And get DeVos in there. I need to hear our Prince's fucking name at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I think what's happening is that there's a recognition that there has to be justice, that Donald Trump had to go. They needed to get the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys off the streets, so they rolled them up with seditious conspiracy charges. Now, if they indict Trump, everybody in the middle is too, by definition, right? Trump's part of it, and the people who are on the ground were part of it. All the people in the middle were part of it, and that includes lots of people that I really want to see behind fucking bars. So
I want to.
There's my hopium.
No, thank you for that. I filed my story for Byline at 2 a.m. yesterday, which is about an hour later than usual-ish. And I sent a message to the editor going, I think I'm like smoking hopium, but just writing it made me feel hopeful. For our friends who are too busy to pay attention to the news. There's a few things that are very important to know. I know you guys know about this, but I'm just going to do a couple of highlights or lowlights. So we know that Trump's outside lawyers are being investigated and looked at, of course. Anyone involved with that fake electoral scheme, basically just a way to fake up the results of the Electoral College. We also know that two top aides of Vice President Mike Pence, Mark Short and Greg Jacob, have been brought in front of a federal grand jury, and as recently as just a few days ago. There's a number of things, happening pretty quickly. And as my friend Hi-Fi said in the article, Garland is the man who took down the domestic terrorist that bombed the Alfred P. Murrah building in Oklahoma City. So again, I wasn't one of those people who jumped on the, bashing Garland bandwagon, only because I didn't think that was helpful. And also because from the very beginning, my best friend in the early resistance was a trial lawyer who explained, and she specialized in fraud, both representing fraudsters and going after fraudsters. She knew the playing field of white collar crimes. And she explained to me how this stuff works. And so I knew it was going to be a long ass haul. And what's weird is that even though this feels so slow, it's actually in justice time happening quicker than most investigations. And I think Garland, no, let me finish. You can say what you want, but Garland getting on TV has been a good thing. Him getting up there and basically saying, a few words on how this is the most massive investigation that's been undertaken, and that, he's trying to do the right thing, even though we know we're at a very dangerous crossroads, and it does feel late in how these things go. As we've learned from Marty Scheel and my friends in the legal world, this is not, this is about, I don't want to say have faith, because I feel like, you guys are just going to, chew my head off, but I have a little bit of faith right now. I don't know.
I mean, I just got done with the whole hopium thing. So, it's like, I'm not immune to optimism.
Yeah.
And there's there are signs of life. However,
yeah.
What I think is very, very important to understand is that the reason why Merrick Garland is moving faster, the reason why he's cooperating with the January 6th committee, the reason why all of this shit is happening is because people like us put pressure on them.
Yeah.
Right? Like this would not be where it is if there weren't people like you and Hi-Fi and me and Gal and all the fucking people that follow us out there putting pressure on these people. This is an information war, and that includes making sure our side is getting their shit together. So I need to say that there is not a mutually exclusive relationship between putting a lot of fucking pressure on Merrick Garland to move really fast and having a little faith that the system might actually work. So I that's the only build I would say on what I agree. I don't think bashing Garland is helpful, but I do think saying, look, you're out of time, bro. Let's go.
We are out of time.
Is not a bad thing, and I think it made a difference.
So there's a number, thank you for that. I think you're right. There's a number of things that I want to bring to the attention of our readers from my story that ran today. One of them is that Martin Scheel, our friend, former IRS investigator, he believes Trump will use this latest criminal inquiry into his massive sedition to fuel his victimhood-driven presidential campaign. But he made a really great point. He said, the air that conveys his grievance-generated appeal to a white nationalist cult-like audience may have just evaporated. And as we reported in the most recent episode of Radicalized, we know that Verizon announced they've cut off OAN, as Marty says, the far right-wing nut cable channel that communicates Trump's every pronounced syllable. We see that Rupert Murdoch is pivoting away from him. I'm going to guess he's greasing the wheel to pivot toward DeSantis. So this isn't good news, but it is. I think it's evidence of what I think it's evidence of what Jim has been saying about Trump being done and also using the criminal investigation to further his grift. We do know DeSantis is out raising him. And Brent Allpress actually took a DeSantis quote and showed how he was using militant dominionist psyops on people. So, we may have action over here on Trump, but I don't want to give people the wrong idea that that's going to solve our problems. It's not. We have to get rid of all the entire infection within the party formerly known as the GOP.
I wanted to point out something Gal put in, which is also very notable. There are missing emails.
God.
But they're text messages.
Text messages, forgive me, for Chad Wolf and Ken Cuccinelli leading up to January 6th.
Use his full name. It's Chad Puppy Fucker.
Oh, stop.
It's Chad Puppy Fucker. But no.
That is for people inside the DHS. That's not me.
That's not his full name. His full name is Acting Chad Puppy Fucker Wolf. That's Acting Chad. That dude was acting whatever the fuck he was for, like, I don't know, longer than Trump was in office, it seemed like. Like, wow. The dude was acting Chad forever, like way past when his right to be acting Chad was long gone. And he just fucking stayed in there anyway. And it was just like, why is acting Chad involved in these conversations?
So what I'd like to know is, where is the New York Times and their outrage about the missing text messages or the missing emails or the missing whatever? Do you remember the Mueller investigation? They were not able to fully connect Eric Prince and Steve Bannon and what their activities were around the Seychelles back channel meeting. And that's because they had wiped their phones. There was no outrage about that. There's no outrage about the Secret Service. It becomes a headline. It goes away in 2 days and, we move on. And it's like, man,
the New York Times is fucked. They have, I'm not going to say any names, but there was yet another story in the New York Times platforming. In this one, there were 3 disinformation agents all platformed right in a row, like with links to their disinfo, because 6 months ago some idiot got psyoped by, I'll say this guy's name, Fred Brennan, and somehow and now that has become the New York Times position, that Paul Ferber and Ron Watkins are, ran a psyop that almost toppled democracy. It's fucking insane. And they just keep doing it, and they keep adding to it, and they keep.
Well, the journalism desert, the fact that we don't have a proper functioning fourth estate, that used to. I mean, imagine, if we had the same kind of vibrant fourth estate that we had during the last 6 years, it wouldn't have gone down like that. First of all, New York, if we'd had a proper fourth estate, there would have been no Trump, because the people in New York who knew exactly who he was would have been reporting on it relentlessly, loudly. Instead, he's the reality TV billionaire. He was something, a figment of NBC's imagination.
Of course.
What did our guest say about what Putin did when he got into office? He got into the televisions, he got into the newspapers, he used his combat propaganda.
Yeah, combat propaganda.
What the fuck do you think this is?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Perfect point. And so did Berlusconi. That was one of the things that I learned in Ruth Ben-Ghiat's Strongman book. He had all the media, and everything was titillating. Everything was like, look over here at these, scantily clad women.
We had Zarina tell us firsthand that she was forced to take a combat propaganda class in order to graduate from St. Petersburg College. And then she was forcibly physically recruited by the KGB to become a fucking spy, and she,
Jumped
died.
out of the car. She
And
literally
now
jumped out of the car.
she
Yeah.
did, and now she's in Odessa getting bombed by the fucking
Yeah.
Russians.
Wow. Do we have
So
some guess or what?
the amount, the level of denial, right,
Yeah.
about what is going on out there, like the fact that the word Russia was never said once in the January 6th committee, that we're still fucking terrified of saying what this is, which is, an invasion by a foreign power using
Yeah.
domestic terrorists. It's
Yeah.
that's simple.
Well, it's literally that simple, but it also will then harken back to the fact that, okay, two things. What do we do about 2016 when we know it's been a massive fraud perpetuated on a nation and truly a globe, because we are a important player in the scheme of things globally. So that's like, that's something that I think that we absolutely have to deal with. And then when we deal with that, what other dominoes fall? What happens with the judicial coup? Do we get to, replace those judges? I mean, like, shouldn't have a
No, I
fraud
think
that's
that's
been.
water under the bridge. I think what we need to do
Fuck
is
that
appoint
shit.
more.
Yeah, I
I
disagree
got I got
too.
no listen.
What, you think they're
Yeah,
going to roll back the last, 6 years? It's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
listen.
it should.
If it doesn't, we're fucked.
Yeah.
So listen, a third of the Supreme Court are Christo-fascist cult members who are dedicated to destroying our
Mhm.
country, and they were put in there by an illegitimate president. That is not
Absolutely.
something that can be let go as water under the bridge.
I
Brett
agree.
Kavanaugh and
What about a
fucking
peach
Gordon.
for lying under oath during their confirmation
What
hearing?
about truth and reconciliation? What about having
I'm just
bold, big ideas?
all of that is fantastic, but crimes were committed. Crimes, a lot of crimes, bad crimes, espionage, fucking sedition, like every single treason. These people
Yeah,
committed treason by the definition of the word. They aided
and they
and
still are.
abetted a foreign power in
Yeah,
war.
and they still are.
So
Oh, that's treason.
we're not just fucking like gonna paste over this shit, you
I
know?
agree. I think the other issue that we have, again, and this is something that I guess requires some soul searching from this country, by whom, I'm not quite sure, but we have never criminally prosecuted, a former president. So I think that they're thinking, oh, well, this is something that was explained to me again by a judicial expert. Everything that we talk about sets a precedent. And I think that that's something that they're fucking worried about. But apparently, they're not so worried that they're not criminally investigating him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're in a normal democracy, there's merit to the idea that anything we do might be precedent.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the precedent, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Is there a precedent for what we're experiencing currently?
No, we've never been here
There is no,
before. No.
and so the setting a precedent with fascists does not matter, because
Yeah.
the fascists are going to do the maximum possible thing that they can get away with at all times by definition.
Yeah.
Like, as soon if fucking McConnell gets back in the Senate, the filibuster is gone instantly. Overnight,
Oh, you mean
they are
if the
going to
Republicans
start.
take control of the Senate?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
If they
I was
take
saying,
control, it's going to be overnight. They're like, all this hand wringing about, oh, they're going to, what if the Republicans do it? Like, nobody's been paying attention. They
We've
still
got
think
the
that there's some kind of like honor left in Mitch
no,
McConnell.
no,
norms.
You
no.
Norms.
Mitch McConnell unconstitutionally withheld, a Supreme Court justice, nomination. That was unconstitutional. They made up some bullshit, and nobody fought hard enough. Just like Jim is saying about 2016, why should we just say this was normal to have foreign intervention in our election.
Okay. Hi-Fi's
as well as domestic.
Hi-Fi's own moment right here. All right. If Merrick Garland had not been denied that justice position, he would not be where he is now to do what he is doing now. And I do believe deep down in the pit of my belly that he is the right man for this job. He understood that, the Oklahoma City bombing was an indicator of an insurgency.
He did. Yeah, he did. He said that too.
If he thought that was an insurgency then, what the fuck does he think this is now?
Well, I also like
the same way.
I like what Jackie Singh said in my piece from last night. Our friend Jackie Singh, former lead threat analyst for the Biden campaign and a cybersecurity goddess. She said the way the DOJ has proceeded through this investigation highlights their awareness that improperly responding to public pressure for the sake of a response can be detrimental to the work. All roads to January 6th seem to lead directly to Donald J. Trump. So that's.
But they don't. But they don't. That's the problem. Donald J. Trump, if you look at a network graph of the operation, he's off on this little fucking like eye stalk out here on his own, being handled by a dozen people.
Right? Yes, and nevertheless, he's
got no situational awareness at all. He is just a manipulated pile.
Right.
Reaction.
But he still is at the center of this insurrection, which is not to say, and this is where I ended the original draft of the story with Marty saying they better go after all these guys. All these guys are the Flynns, are the Stones, are the, Giuliani's, obviously Eastman, Clark, Powell. My God, they're going to have to build a bigger fucking, federal
but there's
prison.
More to it than that. There's the financing of it, right? There's give, send, go. That needs to be addressed.
When Garland said this was like the overwhelmingly massive, like the biggest investigation ever, I don't think that was hyperbole.
Yeah, I mean, things like give, send, go, those are symptoms, right? And yes, we got to shut down all of that shit. Do not get me wrong. And it's very, very important to uncover it and expose it.
You got to take their money.
But you've got to put people away who commit crimes. It's that simple. Like, there's a conspiracy to overturn American democracy.
Yeah,
it's a crime in progress.
Right.
If they arrest the people who are committing that crime, then the gives and go situation would be bad, but it wouldn't be part of, what is about to cause, and I agree with Philip, what is about to be a kinetic conflict, So
I think it already is kinetic.
Meaning we're headed towards civil war.
Those shootings, to me, already
some version of it. Well, yes, I agree.
Well, we already have it. I mean, if you look at all the shooters.
Yes, and those are the kind of the advanced soldiers, right?
That's what it feels like.
Those are the ones that are softening up the battlefield, scaring the population. They're the suicide bombers, right?
Yes, right. Very much so.
All fucking ISIS, and guess how the ISIS people got radicalized? Exactly the same way. In these fucking chat rooms with handlers in their ear telling them what guns to buy and why Allah is gonna fucking do this or that in ISIS's case, or in this case, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's the same exact fucking thing. Or it's Donald Trump, or it's the immigrants, or it's the black people, or it's the Jews, or it's whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter.
Whatever sticks.
It's the same thing. And until we start to see, okay, what comes after that? What comes after that is worse. They start going after cities. They start, I have a very, very scary election scenario that I'm afraid to even say on the podcast, but it involves violence during the election that would swing it to Republicans.
You may as well just give us the broad strokes, because I think it's important.
Well, put it this way: imagine violence at Democratic polling stations.
Yeah.
On election day.
Yeah,
well,
and is this something you're seeing rhetoric on? Is this why you're forecasting it? Is it chatter, or is this just Jim's third eye?
It is the logical way that somebody who is ready to cause violence during the election, and they know that this is it. They know this is, their last shot. It would be causing violence at Democratic polling stations early in the day, take down the voter turnout at Democratic polling stations. The Republicans know they're not getting targeted, right? They're going to fucking go. So, take 10, 20% off the turnout. Bob's your uncle.
That's it. That's all you need.
We got a fascist hellscape. So,
and I would like to point out two factual data points that we know for sure. One is that the young men that were radicalized to kidnap and execute Governor Whitmer in Michigan were being handled by a company called EXE Intel and an FBI agent named Jason Chambers. All right, we know that. That's a fact.
Wow.
The other fact we know is
that's the big deal too.
Yeah.
The grocery store shooter who killed all the black people at the grocery store.
Yeah.
He had a former FBI agent in his Discord coaching him.
Yeah. So that harkens back to the story. Yeah,
the Christchurch kid got trained for 2 years. And he got trained for 2 years because he got super lucky with a crypto scam. I wonder how that fucking happened, where he got turned on to the perfect way to make a couple $100,000 so he could go train himself to kill a bunch of Muslims in Christchurch. This is an intentional pipeline, and it's been set up by people who intentionally want these Nazis going out there and committing these mass killings. And we're either going to acknowledge it, or it's just going to keep getting worse.
We just can't keep being surprised. Like, oh no, it's like, no, this shit is real, and we have to arm ourselves. Mentally, emotionally. For me, I'm always I'm an optimist by nature, so I am always underestimating the severity of the psychological fight. I'm aware of it. I fight it all the time, but I feel like we can't keep on treating all these new developments like Groundhog Day. And for example, Trump being under criminal investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice is a big fucking deal. And it can't just be like, oh, whatever. It can't just be like that. And to Jim's point, though, this could very well be red meat because there are many players that have to go along with that investigation.
Well, look, I mean, here's how you know. Trump has lost Fox, right?
Yes.
Trump is a non-fucking issue anymore, right? And politically.
You've been saying that for a long time. And what's interesting is you say that, and then every major publication does major front page stories on Trump's re-election and comeback. So I think it's so interesting. It's like 2016 all over again.
It's just so stupid.
It is stupid, but it's real.
I know. But all you got to do is visit Telegram. The Trump talk is way down. No, I'm sorry, but that's where it happens.
I know.
Where the brainwashing happens is in these Telegram chat rooms. Like I'm telling you, 70% of the brainwashing in America happens in Telegram chat rooms. I fucking watch it all day long, and the Trump fever is breaking, and it is now a much more. And it's worse, it is a much more generalized frustration and anger that is getting ginned up, and non-specific ways other than violence. Violence is the main topic of conversation at this point. Is okay. When are we going to start shooting people?
Yeah, I mean, they have all those killing machines. I guess they want to start using them, right? Like, that's it.
I mean, why are there 400 million guns in the United States? It's not because we need 400 million guns or because there's 400 million fucking hunters or whatever.
Yeah.
It was intentionally, they were intentionally put here by people who wanted an armed America, and those ain't patriots.
And you know what's so interesting?
That has nothing to do.
You know who wanted armed America was Putin, who infected the NRA with spies and money and Republicans who were easy marks. And then also, we buy all their fucking cheap ammo. That's one of the things that they do successfully export is their cheap ammunition. So it's very, it's very, there's major incentives for the Kremlin to keep us,
I mean,
warring against each
other. Imagine the compromise they have on Wayne LaPierre.
Oh, and Patrick Byrne. Come on now.
Well, I mean NRA, right?
Yeah,
like Patrick Byrne is one thing, but I mean he's a whole thing.
You know who else has some compromise on Wayne LaPierre is Tish James. Do you remember? I'm sure she's having fun over there. She, they. I don't know if you saw that press conference. I was hoping the subject would be somebody other than but it was still important. There's so many moving pieces, and I still go back to the image of Jeffrey Clark on his lawn in his underwear as the federal agents were searching his home and seizing his electronics. That has to mean something.
Yeah,
it has to.
I wanted to make a slight addition to Vaudry's comment because that is correct. The New Zealand shooter did cover their weapons with some other stuff, but the main thing he covered it with was Knights of Malta stuff.
Remember that.
Which is a very, very specific thing to do. It was these wars that started and continued the Crusades throughout the Middle Ages. Those were the dates that he had on his fucking shotgun. It said Malta on his shotgun, along with 1488 and a bunch of other incredibly racist shit. But
I think that was his rifle.
That is a very important.
Not a shotgun.
What's that?
Oh,
it was a shotgun.
I think it was his. I thought it was a rifle.
He had a shotgun.
Oh.
And so the fact that this kid had this Templar shit, this Order of Malta stuff, is really important because that stuff is not like fantasy. It's not science fiction. It's a bunch of very, very influential fascists who are tied into the Catholic Church. And I'm going to keep yelling about them. There's only 13,000 of them, but guess who is one?
Eric Prince. Yeah, Eric Prince. That's the problem.
And a whole bunch of other very, very, very bad people.
So there's something I want to say. After I filed my story last night or this morning, I always like to just research history and make sure that I have some of my facts correct. And we know that Hitler's first attempt to overthrow the government failed. And then he goes into prison and he writes his manifesto. But what he did when he came out is he decided that it wasn't going to be in the violent overthrowing of the government that he was going to gain power. It was going to be through the ballot box and infecting law enforcement. So I'm just saying that in case there's any echoes from history that we want to be thinking about now. Ann Nelson and I did a story about this more than a year ago about all the attacks on our voting systems. And here we are, very close to an election. And the, everything proved pretty prescient. And here we are talking about our, various tiers of law enforcement, having an infection. We can see that in the prosecutions and what Hi-Fi mentioned earlier, and the questions about some of those affiliated with the Capitol Police, and we can go on and on. So since we have these roadmaps from history that tell us what to look out for, uh, what collectively are we doing and what can we do? I think that we've talked about how Germany has its fascist police force, which makes sure that it roots out, white supremacists. And
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna just keep going back to the same fucking thing. The first thing we have to do is shut off the propaganda.
yeah,
And until that is step
yeah,
one.
right. That's very important.
Cannot start anything that's going to fix people's minds until you prevent the goddamn poison from being poured into their ears all day.
Yeah.
It can't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as we know from Ruth's mom and plenty of other evidence, it really just some separation from the cult, and that's what it is. Some separation from the cult and some reduction in poison will do wonders for a person. A whole lot of these people will just fucking dry up, honestly.
Yeah. When that's right. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I always do remember that there are simple solutions just like that. RT challenged the ruling in the UK. They wanted to come back and they failed. They're like, no, we're good without you. That was a sanction that was imposed.
But in America, you can still find RT on Peter Thiel funded Rumble.
Yes. But people like Ruth Ben-Ghiat's mother isn't going to Rumble to watch it. She's now watching BBC. She now regrets voting for Brexit and hates Putin and hates his war. And that took like 3 days.
So Jennifer has a good question, which is, who runs Telegram? And Jane Doe's correct.
A Russian in the.
It is run by. It was founded by 2 Russians. The CEO is a guy named Pavel Durov.
Mm-hmm. And where does Pavel live?
Pavel lives in Dubai.
Middle East, yeah.
In Dubai?
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Where Eric Prince, for one thing, is holed up. Where
Eric Prince.
Yes.
Shocking.
Shocking. It's all shocking, right? So this fucking guy, this Russian, has 1.5 billion people on his platform. And you just go to his channel. The dude's he's a neo-reactionary, like pushing Russian propagandist, shockingly.
Just like we have here.
And he has 1.5 billion users that he allows to be brain fucked all day and all night with no limitations whatsoever. Like, these rooms are, I can't even describe some of the shit that goes on there. And it just happens all day long. And Apple sells this shit on their fucking store. So
that's an actionable thing we could do. We could freaking boycott Apple until they get Telegram and Bannon off their platforms. Bannon is not going to be sentenced until way too late in the game.
Yeah, no, it's true. They
need to take away his fucking microphone and give him a gag order like they did Roger Stone.
Bannon's whole network on there. They've got a bunch of really, really nasty disinfo.
Why?
Hey,
this is not freedom of speech.
Alex Jones is getting hosed up in court. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. When we talk about justice moving slowly, that is an amazing example of that.
Well, that's the problem, is that the damage done while the wheel of justice grinds.
Sandy Hook again? Like, I'm sorry, but that's not fucking justice. Yeah. That motherfucker did that a decade ago. So, I'm sorry. There's justice. And guess what? Alex Jones is getting millions and millions of dollars in untraceable crypto.
Is that how he's paying for his legal fees?
Yes. Yes, publicly. Like he's been like they like people have been just tracing the fucking like crypto uh keys, and it's like I don't know, $4 or $5 million in like giant chunks of money just getting deposited into his account.
Yeah.
I wonder
Right.
who.
Ooh.
It's just
Could it be the Russians? Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, it
It probably
doesn't
is.
it doesn't
At
well.
this point, it doesn't
Here's the
fucking matter.
here's the thing.
It does matter.
Well,
It's
it's a criminal
always
fucking syndicate across
it's
the globe.
always from the Russians, right? Like a lot of these assholes, these trolls out here who are out here like making shit up for money, like they're working for the Russians. They don't know. They're just fucking morons who are sadists and enjoy it and are
Yeah,
making some money
lower
with it,
tier,
and
shit tier.
and they're not getting fucking rubles or crypto from the Russians. I mean, they're getting paid under the table by these fucking LLCs from Yonder,
Yeah.
or whatever else.
Right.
Like
Right.
that.
Right.
That's
Right.
what's going on there. But
Right.
if you go up the chain, right? Like the guy who invested in Yonder
Yeah.
was on The Apprentice and worked for Donald Trump for a decade,
Yeah. Wow.
right?
Man.
In the aughts, when all the Russian shit's going on with Donald Trump. So it always goes back, eventually to this coalition of the Russians, the Saudis, and a bunch of
Ooh,
theocratic fascists in the United States
Yes.
who want
Yes.
to
The
burn
fifth
down
speaking
column
of the
is.
everything.
Saudis, who was Donald Trump golfing with this week? The
Yeah,
I, lo-
fucking
I,
Saudis.
well, he had
Shocking.
he had the Live tournament, which is losing billions of dollars a year to bribe PGA players to not play on the PGA Tour because golf apparently is doing too well, or it's an American thing that they just want to blow up, and so they're going to throw a few $1 billion to blow it up. It's really quite that simple. It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with them trying to, infiltrate and destroy any American institution they can find. I'm not like a giant golf fan or anything. I find it very fucking annoying, but it is something a lot of people do, and it's an American thing. I mean, they come from America, came from Britain, but it's important to the country.
So Jennifer says all roads lead to Putin. Someone said. Actually, I would like to
yeah.
alter that, Jennifer. All sewers flow down to Putin.
Yeah. Well, I encourage everybody to please watch episode 34 with Serena Zabriskie reporting live from Odessa. There was just so much incredible information in that from her history of being born in St. Petersburg, which she does not care to if it was wiped off the face of the map.
She was fun. She was funny.
She was great. She was great.
Like,
she was so great.
Don't bring the fucking
No.
Russians up. I don't want to talk about the Russians.
I get it.
Talking about the Russians. I loved it.
I get it, but we learned so much from her. And speaking of not
good Lord, did we?
Well, we also learned about hunger terrorism, which is something that we have talked about, but she was able to put it into 2 words and relate it to the war strategy. So this is very interesting because Hi-Fi sent me an article from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette about a Ukrainian oligarch, Ihor Kolomoisky, who was stripped of his citizenship in a bold step that could remove his protections in the event he's charged for allegedly stealing millions from the nation's largest bank and concealing the money where? In steel mills and skyscrapers in the heartland of America. So do you guys see the theme here? Does Mitch McConnell and Oleg Deripaska ring a bell? Does any of this stuff ring a bell? It's the money laundering bell, and boy, do we need some serious structural reforms in our country to make corruption with a capital C go back to a lowercase c.
We need a beneficial owner law. Like, we need to know who has that cash.
Which we are working on. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely correct.
And then we need some fucking
So,
accountability. Like the Secret Service deleting text. You've got First Energy in Ohio. Did you see that article about the intelligence company that's fucking with elections in like Florida and Alabama and Georgia and
which
Louisiana?
one?
It was an article about FLI. It's an intelligence company that runs black ops. They set up nonprofit organizations in communities, and they go after political candidates who aren't kowtowing to the local power companies.
That doesn't seem good.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't seem good.
Like, but here's the
if
problem.
you have so much profit, you could pull shit like that. You need to pay more taxes.
Yes, and you need, and in my opinion, that should be really illegal, like insanely illegal. Like you should not be able to psyop people into voting for somebody that they wouldn't vote for otherwise. You like we have got to distinguish the difference between brainwashing people and advertising to them. There is a difference, right? And we have completely lost the plot here. Like, where there's no longer advertising, it's like, let's set up a fucking coordinated team of psychos in your town to traumatize a bunch of people into, dropping out of elections or, or coming up with some smear campaign on them or whatever. Like there's rat fucking has been around since politics.
Roger Stone.
Right? It's been around forever.
He made it. But he made it meaner.
Ashamed of it.
Yeah,
they used to be ashamed of it. They used to hide it. They used to hide it in these consulting companies and stuff. Now it's just like, yeah, we're gonna go and we're gonna fucking sit up in your town and then we're gonna start fucking trolling people and we're gonna go to the fucking houses. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And I'm a former intelligence official and you can trust me and Semper Fi and fucking it's just
That's right. That's right. So I've got two things to say. We've come a very long way since Where's the Beef? When you're talking about advertising what it used to be like. It's come a long way since Where's the Beef, what Jim's talking about is so true.
I like that.
But what I'm saying is like it used to be a bit more innocent. It was a funny actress going up saying, "Where's the beef?" You know what I'm saying? Like that was like back in the day.
Less
vitriolic. But I will say no.
They did have a lot of subliminal shit though.
Yeah. What I will say about the second thing I wanted to mention is that being deeply involved in local level politics, I will say that anybody who is running for office at this time, who is not a QAnon fuckaroo propagandist whack job, and there's, people who are authentically running for office right now because their communities are in tatters and they want to make things better, they are so goddamn brave. They're literally so brave because what you were just describing, Jim, is happening everywhere, all throughout the country. And so to be able to run that gauntlet and put yourself through that because you want to make your community better is really incredible. And all the things we see at the national level, I'm seeing on the local level, and the ugliness from within the Democratic Party is really something that needs to be addressed fast because they are destroying themselves from within. And who does that fucking serve? The GOP, Putin, and all the fifth column extremists. So, I would like to, in the last minute we have left, give the last word to President Biden, who is often forgotten in these conversations. He's somebody who's working very hard to try to keep our fragile republic together. He made a statement in a virtual address the other day, and I know that it was targeted to reclaim what it means to be a patriot. He was taken aback from far-right extremists, and he basically said, you can't be pro-insurrection and pro-America.
That seems, look, it seems very simple, right? Yes, you should not be, if you believe in the country, you should not believe in overthrowing it. It's not complicated. It's
Yeah.
bullshit. Like all fascism starts as nationalism, right?
Yeah.
It starts as
Yeah.
nationalism. It evolves to anarchy. The fascists come in. They do authoritarian capture, and Bob Junko, you're the Nazis.
Yeah. Right.
And we're right in the middle of it.
Well,
So
a lot of mothers, as you know, Jim, who are going to bat for for their sons who have been arrested for participating in the violence on January 6th. There are a lot of mothers across this country saying, "Please help my son. It was Rush Limbaugh, Alex Jones, Donald Trump who screwed up my kid's head. You know, Johnny used to be a nice boy." And it's like, until, as Jim said earlier, we deal with that infection, the infection from these, what term did we use instead of a propagandist now? Psychological terrorists. Yeah. Till we deal with the infection of psychological terrorism on a mass scale by shutting down the telegrams. And let's just give a shout out, you know, to Verizon for doing the right thing with OAN. You know, let's see that happen at a much larger scale. But again, I always say this: let's take the wins where we can get them and keep marching.
yep. I mean, there's things are happening, but yeah. Next, all I can say is the next few months are going to be fucking crazy, and all I can say is, just again, stick with people that are telling the truth, and share as much as you can. That's the minimum that individuals can do right now.
And the soul of our country is at stake, and we are here to fight it as best we can.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
I
indeed.
love you guys.
Love you back.